Welcome to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast, your weekly news roundup of hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation stories from around the Gem State. Hosted by Fish and Game's Public Information Specialist, Connor J. Lease.
And welcome back to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast. If you woke up last Friday morning with cobwebs on your Hook and Bulletin podcast feed, then I'm sorry. Me and a whole bunch of staff were up in Coeur d'Alene last week covering the commission meeting, so we weren't able to put out a weekly news recap. If you were one of those two listeners truly saddened by not having a new episode last week, my sincerest of apologies. This week will more than make up for the lull in news, though. But first, shout out to listener Annie W. for writing in and suggesting we turn our commission meetings into their own podcast episodes for later listening. We cover a lot of ground in those meetings, and sometimes it can be hard to tune in for the full 5 hours during a school day. So thanks to Annie, I've gone ahead and added the full July commission meeting, episode 76, out now. Both the podcast version and our YouTube video recap of the meeting have timestamps down in the description, so you don't have to meticulously scroll through the entire meeting. Just jump to whatever section you missed and get caught up. This week on the Hook and Bulletin, we'll be talking about several wildlife crimes and convictions across the state. A canine officer decides he's ready to retire, and the hardest trout fishing challenge you've probably never heard of. But first, you could put all the state's different trout species head to tail fin, and it would still be hard to beat this lucky angler's new state record. Let's dive in. Aaron Gutche is no stranger to monster lake trout. Aaron, my apologies if I butchered your last name. An avid angler, fishing rod maker, and longtime veteran on Utah's and Wyoming's famous Flaming Gorge Reservoir, a world-renowned fishery known for producing lake trout over 30 pounds and occasional giants up to 60, Aaron knows what a trophy looks like. But in recent years, another lake has stolen his heart, Payette Lake in McCall, Idaho. Aaron has spent the past 3 years chasing lake trout in Payette Lake, steadily dialing in the fishery and landing some incredible catches along the way. Then, back on June 19th of this year, while trolling solo in the morning in about 80 feet of water, he caught the fish of a lifetime, just barely beating the standing catch and release record set by Dylan Smith back in 2018. Aaron's 42-inch lunker earned him the new Idaho state record for catch and release lake trout, solidifying Payette Lake as a legitimate trophy water once again. Though Payette Lake has produced big lake trout for over 30 years, things weren't always so rosy. In the early 2000s, biologists noticed signs of trouble. Lake trout were getting thin from poor prey availability, and the kokanee numbers, their main prey food item, were dropping quickly. Here's Jordan Messner, our regional fisheries manager up in McCall.
It wasn't uncommon to catch a 30-inch fish that looked like a snake.
Exactly. With the lake out of balance, Fish and Game launched a major plan to boost kokanee numbers while improving the quality of the lake trout population. In 2018, Idaho Fish and Game biologists started a two-pronged approach. One, stocking more kokanee to rebuild the prey base, and two, suppressing smaller lake trout to reduce competition and predation on kokanee. The suppression program targets lake trout under 27 inches to remove them from the lake. So far, over 3,000 lake trout have been removed since 2018. The goal is to reduce the lake trout population to reduce competition and increase kokanee survival. With fewer mouths to feed, the remaining lake trout should be healthier and grow a lot faster.
We're thinning out the juvenile lake trout so the ones that survive have more food, and they grow big.
At the same time, biologists are working hard to stock more kokanee in the lake. Ongoing monitoring confirms the success of the strategy, with average relative weight, or in other words, how fat the fish is, has steadily improved since the program began. Anglers are noticing the improvements in both the kokanee and the lake trout fishing. In June of 2023, biologists caught and released a 54-pound lake trout, just 3 pounds shy of the Idaho state weight record. That means another record is likely just around the corner. Once again, congratulations to Aaron on this remarkable catch. Hit the link below to see a picture of Aaron's record laker and also some tips on catching lake trout at Payette Lake. All right, time to talk about a couple of wildlife crimes around the state. 2 St. Mary's men were charged on June 27th with 8 felonies related to the alleged unlawful take of 7 mature white-tailed deer bucks. The investigation was conducted by Fish and Game conservation officers up in the Panhandle region and resulted in documentation of 56 wildlife violations. Alleged violations were reviewed and final felony charges filed by the Kootenai County Prosecutor's Office. It is alleged that all 7 deer were illegally killed during November of 2024, and 5 of the 7 deer were killed in a single 24-hour period. 3 of the bucks were classified as trophy white-tailed deer, which carries higher penalties than a non-trophy classification. All the deer were taken outside of legal shooting hours, and the meat from 3 of the deer were left to waste. Because the case remains open with only charges filed against the defendants, more information is not available at this time. Additional details will be released upon conclusion of the case. But we'd like to thank the public for being diligent in reporting potential wildlife crimes and helping to preserve, protect, perpetuate, and manage this incredible fish and wildlife to which Idaho is home. Meanwhile, down in Rexburg, conservation officers began their investigation into Nathan Archibald in December of 2023 after receiving information from a member of the community through the Citizens Against Poaching hotline. Officers quickly responded to the call, discovering a trophy-class mule deer buck that was illegally shot, hidden, and left. Later that night, officers contacted Archibald when he returned to retrieve the mule deer buck, which he had admitted to killing after dark the previous night. There was no open season, he had no tag, and his hunting license was revoked at the time. This incident eventually led to the discovery of additional information regarding several other unlawful animals taken by Archibald between 2021 and 2023. On February 5th, 2024, officers served a search warrant on Archibald's home, where a significant amount of physical evidence was recovered to solidify their investigation. On October 11th, 2024, Fish and Game officers filed charges in 2 cases against Archibald with the Madison County Prosecutor's Office, totaling 6 felonies and 14 misdemeanors occurring between December of 2021 and December of 2023. The charges included 6 counts of unlawfully killing, possessing, or wasting wildlife, 4 counts of hunting/taking an animal without a valid tag, 4 counts of hunting while revoked, 1 count of using the tag of another, 1 count of hunting with an artificial light, 1 count of trespassing, and 1 count of possessing/transporting game unlawfully taken. In total, 7 white-tailed deer and 1 mule deer were killed and or possessed unlawfully. 3 of the unlawfully taken deer were considered trophy animals and qualified for enhanced civil penalties. Fish and Game conservation officers arrested Archibald on October 21st, 2024 for the previously filed charges, and he was released on bond the following day. Each misdemeanor charge carried the possibility of up to 6 months in jail, up to a $1,000 fine, and up to a 3-year hunting license revocation. Each felony charge carried the possibility of up to 5 years in jail, up to a $50,000 fine, and the possibility of a lifetime hunting revocation. Each unlawfully taken deer carried with it a civil penalty, which in this case totaled $14,000. At his sentencing hearing, Archibald accepted a plea deal from the Madison County prosecutor where he pleaded guilty to 1 felony count for unlawful killing, possessing, or wasting of wildlife in exchange for the additional 13 charges being dropped and a restitution hearing to be held for the remaining deer. Ultimately, Archibald received reduced penalties for 60 days in jail to be served over a 6-month period, $7,000 in civil penalties, and a 10-year hunting license revocation. Here's Regional Conservation Officer Barry Cummings.
There's been a lot of public interest in this case. We take calls about wildlife crimes very seriously and want to thank everyone who provided information. Our 3 lead investigators spent over 300 hours following up on leads and putting together a rock-solid case. Idaho's wildlife belongs to everyone and is a limited resource. We work hard every day to hold account those individuals who would steal that resource from our citizens.
The unlawful taking of wildlife in Idaho is a crime against all Idaho citizens. Wildlife crimes like these often begin with a call from concerned hunters who witness blatant violations or suspicious activity and call into Idaho's CAP hotline, or Citizens Against Poaching hotline. Callers to the hotline can report wildlife violations anonymously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Cash rewards are available to callers who provide information leading to the citation of suspected wildlife law violators. That number, in case you're interested, is 1-800-632-5999. Hit the links below to read TJ Ross and James Brower's press releases. Now, if catching stocked rainbows down at your local pond ain't quite scratching the itch for you anymore, there's a new trout fishing challenge sure to help you get the most of your fishing license and your summer days. There are a few better ways to enjoy summer than hitting the road for a summer fishing trip, whether it's close to home or venturing to new, uncharted waters. A highlight of those trips is often the chance to take in some beautiful country and have a chance to catch an equally beautiful native trout. If this sounds like your idea of a good time, our fisheries folks got a great way to plan your future fishing adventures and aid in native trout conservation all at the same time. The Western Native Trout Challenge is a multi-sport trout slam hosted by our friends at the Western Native Trout Initiative. WNTI is part of the bigger National Fish Habitat Partnership program, working across 12 western states to conserve native trout. Their work funds conservation efforts such as habitat restoration, removing migration barriers, fish population surveys, and trout education and outreach. By taking on the challenge, you're doing your part to support native trout conservation. There's a $25 registration, but $23 from that goes directly back into funding trout habitat restoration projects. This is a win-win for both anglers and trout. Idaho has 5 native trout eligible for the challenge. We got red band, West Slope cutthroat, Yellowstone cutthroat, Bonneville cutthroat, and bull trout. But this challenge goes beyond Idaho. You'll need at least 6 species from 4 states to complete the basic achievement level. So you may find yourself targeting Gila trout in the Southwest, rainbows up in Alaska, golden trout in California, or a variety of other species across the West. Tackling the challenge is all about making the adventure that is all your own, however you decide to make it. You'll get to experience some of the best wild places throughout the West while you try to catch native trout in their original habitats. Along the way, you'll learn about native trout, where they live, and some of the many challenges they are facing these days. And if you're lucky, you might even find a new secret spot. For more information and registration details, visit the Western Native Trout Challenge website. I'll be sure to include a link to that page and Brett Bowersox's full article down in the episode description. You can also check out the Trout Challenge Maps webpage to see where all these fish live. So far this summer, I'm 2 for 5 on red bands and west slopes. I'm going to be heading up to Yellow Pine next weekend, though, for the Old Harmonica Festival, and you bet your bobbers I'm going to be gunning for some bull trout up there in the South Fork tributaries. Should be fun. Write in. Let me know, though, if the Western Trout Challenge is for you and how much progress you've made. Podcast at idfg.idaho.gov. All right, last tale of the week. Canine Officer Hudson is hanging up the collar for good and embarking down a new path in life. Retirement. Canine Officer Hudson, the Panhandle region's first canine officer, is retiring after working alongside his canine handler, Senior Conservation Officer Matt Haig, for nearly 10 years. That's, 80 years in dog years? Pretty old. Hudson is a Labrador Retriever of the yellow variety, in case you were wondering. Here's Officer Haig speaking on behalf of Hudson.
It has been an honor and a privilege to serve Fish and Game and the people of Idaho as part of the canine team. I'd like to thank the Idaho Fish and Wildlife Foundation and the Bonner County Sportsmen's Association for donating and raising funds that support our canine program statewide.
Hudson first came to Fish and Game as a young, exuberant pup on December 5th, 2015. After adjusting to his new life with the Haig family, Officer Haig and Hudson traveled to Indiana, where they completed the Natural Resources Canine Training Program from January through May of 2016. Upon graduating and returning, Officer Hudson was eager to report for duty. Over their career together, Officer Haig and Hudson tracked countless suspects and recovered numerous lost children and missing adults. Hudson helped recover critical evidence such as bullet casings, firearms, and illegally killed animals, which ultimately led to countless arrests of wildlife violators. Haig and Hudson completed over 800 deployments together, assisting many law enforcement agencies, including the Sandpoint Police, Bonner County Sheriff's Office, the Coeur d'Alene Tribe, Idaho State Police, and most often our Fish and Game officers here at Fish and Game. The team made thousands of public contacts through demonstrations at schools, sportsmen's groups, and community events across the state. Beyond the realm of work, Hudson and Officer Haig enjoyed a very special relationship. If you own a dog, you can likely relate to this, at least to some extent. The duo spent nearly every day together. They played together, they worked together, they loved a family together, and they had each other's backs on and off duty. As with all dogs and their owners, Officer Haig could do no wrong in the eyes of Hudson. They were as strong of a team as they come. Unfortunately, Hudson's retirement isn't one characterized by days spent lazily and deservedly enjoying life on the lap of Officer Haig. In June, Hudson was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer, and as a result, is expecting a few months of life remaining. Officer Hudson is going to be missed by the Fish and Game family, all of us here, but most of all by his handler, partner, and best friend, Officer Haig. Officer Haig is committed to remaining by Hudson's side until the very end.
The role of canine handler with Hudson has been the highlight of my career and has deeply impacted my family and me.
To learn more about Fish and Game's canine program, visit the Idaho Fish and Wildlife Foundation's canine webpage. That's it for major stories this week. Let's hit the rapid fire bulletin. Idaho Fish and Game closed the Upper Salmon River from the posted boundary just upstream of the mouth of the Yankee Fork, upstream to the posted boundary just downstream of the Sawtooth Hatchery Weir at the end of fishing hours back on July 20th. To learn more about Chinook salmon fishing and what areas are open and closed, see the Chinook Salmon Fishing webpage. Idaho Power's recreation access point in the section of CJ Strike Reservoir known as the Narrows is closed until August 1st while the company upgrades the docks there. Contractors began work July 10th to replace stationary piers with floating docks. The new docks will be better suited to withstand changing water levels and the frequent winds at the reservoir. This is the first of 3 dock upgrade projects Idaho Power has scheduled this year. Docks at Love Ridge Bridge and Cottonwood Campground will be replaced later this summer and fall. The company upgraded docks at its North Park Campground at CJ Strike last year. 2 instructor-led courses will be held in salmon this summer that are designed for youth 9 years of age and older. July 21st, 22nd, 25th, and the 26th from 8 a.m. to noon, and August 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th from 8 a.m. to noon. Both courses will be held at the Idaho Fish and Game Regional Office at 99 Highway 93 North. Space is limited, and advanced registration is required by registering online or by visiting any Fish and Game office. Students will learn about firearm handling and safety, hunting laws and ethics, responsibilities towards landowners, wildlife identification, survival skills, and management and conservation. So if you're in the salmon area, hit the link to sign up. Alrighty, that's it for this week's stories. It's time for our question of the week. So I was down at the local Albertsons yesterday, grabbing some chicken tenders, and the feller working behind the deli saw my Fish and Game shirt and asked me about jug lining for catfish in Idaho, specifically in southwest Idaho. I did my best to steer him in the right direction, but having only learned the term jug lining literally a month ago, I feel like I failed to answer this gentleman's question. So I reached out to our state fisheries manager, Joe Kozovska, who gave me some better information. So jug line fishing in Idaho is illegal, as it is not a pole with a line attached to it, nor is it considered to be an intended fishing method. Several other alternative forms of fishing, including limb lines and set lines, etc., are also illegal in Idaho. So hope this helps, partner, and thanks for the chicken. That's all the news we have for this week. Thanks for putting an ear to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin. If there's something on your mind, or if you've got a question or a topic related to Fish and Game Matters, or for the Shooting the Bull podcast, feel free to drop us a line at podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Again, that's podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. We're gearing up for hunting season here, folks, pretty soon. So if you've got something that's burning in your mind, write us in. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next week.